May I begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians on all of the lands on which we meet virtually today. I acknowledge and pay my respect to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I extend that respect to Aboriginal elders past, present and emerging, and certainly to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders who may be joining us in this session today or on the recording. My name is Lotta Oberg. I am Program Director of the Asialink Leaders program, and this program is being delivered by Asialink Business, Australia's National Centre for Asia Capability, part of the wider Asialink Group, with a federal mandate to develop the capability that builds business ties between Australia and Asia. For the last 28 years, we have been delivering the Asialink Leaders program together with our program partner, Herbert Smith Freehills, and we've had some incredible results for individuals in the program, their organizations, and for Australia. So we are delighted that you can join us today to learn more about the program. I am going to be your host for today, and I look forward to sharing a lot with you about this program together with a team of people. We together are going to cover three things. The first one is the big picture. Why Asia, why now, and why Asia capability matters. Then secondly, an overview of the Asialink Leaders program that you would be expecting joining this webinar. And finally, conversations with people who have experienced this program firsthand or are currently experiencing them. Your questions are welcome throughout, and we've dedicated some time at the end of this session to respond to these, and certainly can after the fact as well. And you can put them in the Q&A box at the bottom there, and you can see the invitation to do so in the chat. Now, with that, let's kick off and get started. It is my pleasure to now invite the Asialink Business Chief Executive Officer, Leigh Howard. Well, welcome, Leigh, and over to you.
Thanks, Lotta. Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you. Always enjoy these information sessions. If I can dive right in, in our world here at Asialink, the world we live in, the dual questions of why Asia and why now seem almost perennial. On its merits alone, the benefits of greater engagement for Australia with our geographic region makes perfect sense. Pick whatever metrics you like, and I'll focus on the economic ones, being the CEO of Asialink Business. But you'll find they reinforce the growing impact of a rising Asia on Australia's fortunes. So whether it's 60% of the global population, half of global consumption growth, the fastest growth in energy consumption, or half of the world's internet users, all of these numbers are very compelling. And the projections only point upward. Asia will deliver nearly 2/3 of global growth this decade alone. And so no matter what metric you pick, Asia is there and Asia is growing. So one of the interesting things that we observe is, to a large extent, our progress towards greater engagement with Asia seems relatively slow and certainly uneven. Many parts of Australian society remain optimistically uninterested in a region that contributes substantially to our standard of living and the level of prosperity that we enjoy. So taking our place in the region and converting the power of proximity remains very much a destiny unfulfilled for Australia. It's a bit like an aeroplane hurtling down a runway where at times we speed up, but we're still yet to take off. If Australia wants to fully realise the role it will play in Asia's growth story across digital, energy, education, healthcare, culture and people-to-people engagement, just to name a few, it will be as much about solving joint challenges together as it will be about achieving an economic return. Asia is an incredibly diverse region, evolving at tremendous speed and attracting a lot of global attention. Australia has much to offer Asia, but to leverage our strengths and ensure they play a role in the region's growth trajectory, we'll need to understand our neighbours in ways that we are yet to fully appreciate. The good news is that we have a federal government which has put Asian engagement front and centre of its policy agenda. This focus was driven home by the Prime Minister, who said, "We find ourselves in the fastest growing region in the world in human history. There are enormous opportunities for Asia. I'm very optimistic about our future, but we need to seize those opportunities." Now, I share the Prime Minister's enthusiasm for our region's exciting prospects, but I also note he calls out that the onus is on us to seize those opportunities. Last month, I was in Jakarta attending the launch of the Southeast Asia Economic Strategy to 2040 by the Australian Government to ASEAN leaders and delegates. This is perhaps the most significant international economic document launched by the current government. With 75 recommendations for increasing two-way trade and investment, the strategy is built on 4 key pillars. One of these pillars is building capability to ensure Australia and the region have the skills and knowledge to work effectively together. Now, building capability is core to our mission at Asialink. It's why cultivating leaders through our flagship Asialink Leaders program is essential. Those of you who join the Asialink Leaders program do so because you might be driven to make a positive change for yourselves and for your organisation in the way you engage with Asia. Let me just pause for a second here and talk about the leadership aspect of our program, as this is really, really crucial. So my view is that you don't turn leadership on and off. Each of us shapes our identity with everyday actions, and these accumulated actions define who we are and our relationships with those around us. This is as true for individuals as it is for organisations. We are the ones who make our country every day. So I ask you to consider, how do you turn up? How does your organisation present itself? And how capable are you and your organisation when engaging with Asia? The other point I want to make just briefly before I finish up is that successful engagement with Asia isn't just the domain of senior political leaders and diplomats. Each of you have an important role to play in helping Australia navigate its way through challenges and opportunities by showcasing the depth and diversity of talent our country has to offer. Joining the Asialink Leaders program will set you and your staff up to do just that. Lead for your organisations, your industry, and Australia in engaging with the region. That's all from me in terms of an introduction. Thank you for your time today. And I'd now like to hand back to Lotta to share more with you about the flagship program the Asialink Leaders program has to offer in helping you to build your Asia capability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leigh. And with that stimulating start, I know that all of you who are joining this call, whether live or recorded, you've sort of heeded that call to action of, I'm interested in fueling my own Asia engagement with that of my organizations and staff. And so you're here to find out more. So let me share with you a snapshot of the program, the what, the how, the who, for the next 5 minutes before we have those valuable conversations. And the questions are still very, very welcome in the chat, and we'll get to them towards the end. So we make the claim that this is a truly unique program. Certainly, the program has run for 28 years and we haven't found anything like it in Australia. But we will let you judge the uniqueness of this program, of course. We have always been doing the same thing, but we do it differently every year. The same thing meaning we bring a group of incredibly motivated, engaged, and Asia ambitious individuals together to exchange, to cross-pollinate, to share ideas. So if you were to join the 29th program that we are running from 2024, we will have you meet 40 to 50 leaders like yourselves, but in a diverse cohort of people. We'll look at that in a moment. And you'll get together and share a program journey that goes for about 9 months to develop those very valuable connections and those deep insights about Asia and Asia engagement. And at the end, you'll join, at the time then, 1,100 people strong alumni network of Asia engaged leaders based around Australia, as it says here, and the globe. And in fact, you'll hear from some of them in the program because of the positions they hold. And among our alumni, we have, for example, the Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs, Tim Watts. He joined us in 2017. And so we have people in all kinds of organizations, sectors, and we look forward to seeing who joins us in 2024. As a little indication of who that might be or the kinds of people that might join, let me share with you who's in our 2023 cohort. A snapshot here of 8 out of 53 leaders. And as you scan this and as you see the statistics here on the left, you'll probably quickly see that what we have is a balance. We have a mix of sectors, a mix of backgrounds, a mix of perspectives and industries and ways of engaging. And that's, of course, very intentional. So everyone who joins our program have put an application in, have had an interview, and then they have gone through and been offered. And we are very intentional and very careful about this cap-size cohort becoming something really, really valuable for everyone inside of it. People's starting points are different, but what they have in common is a real commitment intention and ambition to deepen and broaden their Asia capability and connection. And our program is as much about the cross-pollination of those intentions and ambitions as it is about bringing content to people. If you manage now to scan this carefully, you'll see that some people seem to be sitting elsewhere, and that's true for one of our speakers today. We have, since 2020, one of the newer features, a virtual hub for leaders in Asia and in regional rural Australia and leaders with access requirements. So there's an opportunity to join us and to join in the cohort in a virtual hub. And I'll talk a tiny bit about how that works. In front of you, you've got some of the countries that are represented this year and some of the states. Here's the journey they all take. And the journey you have in front of you is the face-to-face journey. The virtual journey, the virtual hub journey is purpose-built and it's parallel, but it's also distinct. And we're happy to share that after this session in a very helpful brochure that we have for both of these hubs. But very briefly, nuts and bolts, it's a 9-month learning journey, 10.5 days in total. It includes a series of in-person and online activities. And it focuses on, I think we can look at 3 big events. So we start and kick off here in Foundation Week in Melbourne, and the focus is on Asia. Geographies, societies, cultures, aspects of engagement with Asia. The next big event for the whole cohort, again, the virtual hub comes in, live streamed, is the Canberra Summit. Although many of our leaders in region choose to join us in person here, which is an option, here we look at the federal relationship. And the next big event is graduation in Sydney. And in between, you'll see we have intersessions, and they may be on individual Asia capability or sustainable and inclusive growth or technology transformation, key issues of our time. The red thread, this is how you get benefits out of the program. You bring an idea, you shape it into what we call a workplace project, and you take it home back to your organizations and sectors. And we support you by bringing you into small groups called pods and providing some coaching for you 4 times throughout this program. People who join this program, they are expecting to learn about Asia. They get a lot of content, of course. Great speakers, I'll show you in a minute. We organize this content around themes, so it's not just a series of speakers. It's really intentional learning engagements that you then get yourself through and contribute to. What people will say is, I expected to learn about Asia and Asia-Australia engagement, but what I didn't expect was to hear from such a diverse group of people. People therefore call it transformational, they call it an acceleration, an expansion. People don't potentially expect to learn things they didn't know even existed, but that's often what happens for people because of that cross-pollination aspect. A quick look at who we hear from. There's 60 to 70 speakers in each program, but here are some 10 from our Canberra Summit, focused very much on politics, diplomacy, media, and of course, the public servants of the most senior levels that come and talk to us. And it's not just who speaks, but how they speak to us, as one of our wonderful alumni kindly offered. It is the opportunity for informal or semi-formal discussion. And certainly, we're always amazed at the generosity of our speakers and their willingness to talk to us under Chatham House rules. So you'll hear from a vast array of people in this program if you choose or are able to join us. Lastly, the workplace projects. I've mentioned them and said they are the red thread. I've talked about them as a mechanism to bring value out of the program. But here's the idea. You bring a field, a focus, potentially a problem that you'd like to explore through the program, and then you bring out what really helps inform the approach that you take to this. We have got 1,050 of these projects. I'm going to show you 7, and they all add up to a whole lot of positive change in Asia-Australia engagement for the country and the countries involved, but also for the people who are involved, who often become very visible in their organizations or to the broader network, and who, of course, make great connections with others in pursuing these projects. So they can be export strategies, they can be a book, they can be initiatives of different kinds, but that is what we do. Now, that finishes sort of the overview of the program before we go to conversations. But before we do, let me just flash before you, and I'll put that on the end as well, some key dates. So, of course, this was just the start. If you want to know more, you can contact me or my colleague Claire Stevens, who is also on this call, and in fact an Asialink Leaders alumni, who's probably your first port of call, who can talk to you a bit more about the program. But we'll come back to this at the end. And with that, I'm now very delighted to be bringing in 2 people who've experienced the program. The first-hand experience that they'll share with you on why they joined and what that means for them. So firstly, it is my pleasure to welcome back our 2020 Asialink Leaders alumni, Mr. Craig Dower, CEO and Managing Director of QANTM IP, which owns leading intellectual property businesses across Australia and Asia. Warm welcome to you, Craig.
Thanks, Lotta. Lovely to see you.
Great to have you with us again. And now I'm going to start with 2020. You came to us with about, I think, 20 years experience of working in Asia and with Asia from Australia, and 5 of them were based in Singapore. What brought you, with all that experience, to the Leaders Program?
A number of things. I had the good fortune of being involved with Asialink on a number of fronts during that 20 years or so in Australia and in Singapore through various events and so on that Asialink had organised. And I got to know some of the leadership team there and understood what the Leaders Program was about, but had never really had time to do it. And finally forced myself to clear some time in my calendar to be able to do it. And I'm so glad that I did, albeit that it happened during COVID. So I think we got to spend the first week together for Foundation Week. And then we were all scattered into various sort of Zoom channels for the rest of the year. But you and the team did a fantastic job of responding to pretty much unimaginable circumstances and pulling a program together and getting it delivered. The only thing we didn't get to do, which was a bit disappointing in the year, but wonderfully you followed up the year later, was the Canberra program. Because I think that sort of intensive, hands-on, visceral experience of being there in Parliament House is a really important part of the program. But yeah, I was very keen to continue to learn about Asia from an Asialink perspective, and it's a tremendous organisation, both Asialink Business and Asialink, that's been around for a long time now. So I was thrilled to be able to participate, and it was. I will talk a bit more. I guess you'll ask another couple of questions around the program itself and how it all played out, but that was a big part of it for me. It was just that long-term interest in wanting to be involved.
That's fantastic to hear, Craig. And we were very lucky at that time with such a wonderful cohort who mucked in there and got in there on the virtual sort of modes that we now all do even better with. I guess from the perspective of, you've done that program in 2020 and continued to join us in Canberra in a subsequent year. And since then, you've also put some of your senior leaders through the program. And I'm interested in their organizational experience of having other people go through a program such as this, and what they bring back. You continue to invest in Asia capabilities in QANTM IP. Why do you do it, and what does it bring to you?
Well, part of it was the experience that I had, which was just so powerful on so many fronts. I mean, Leigh set it up beautifully before, and you also talking about the diversity of the program. I mean, you sign up to an Asialink Leaders program, and you think you have a reasonable view of what it's going to be about, and it turns out to be so much more than that. The diversity of the participants, the extraordinary diversity of the material that gets covered, and the quality and caliber and experience of the people in every respect, the people that you, Asialink Business, bring to the table as part of program delivery. But perhaps most interestingly is the people that you are sitting alongside with, that cohort of 40 or 50 people, and the incredible diversity and experience set and background that they have. I think I learned just as much from listening to other people in the room and engaging and collaborating with them in various sort of work groups and so on, as I did from the outstanding face-to-face experience that we had, whether it was through Zoom or actually face-to-face with the presenters. And so that experience for me was fantastic. And we've just continued to want to put our senior leadership team through the program. So I think we've had a participant in each of the past 2 years, and we're planning to be there next year as well. We'll continue to do that. We think it's a really important part of the overall sort of rounding out of education of our people, and the mindset and approach that you take around that very specific term about building capability is really what it's all about.
Fantastic. Well said, Craig. In fact, that sums it up perfectly. So thank you so much for your time and for your input and your generosity into the Asialink Leaders program as well. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.
It's lovely to continue to be involved.
Thanks. And so with that, you got a perspective from someone who'd been there 3 years ago and continued to engage and develop and invest in Asia capabilities. And now we're going to hear from a 2023 Asialink leader. We're absolutely delighted to have you with us, Helen Oh, Trade and Investment Commissioner from Austrade. You're joining us there from Seoul in Korea. How are you?
Thanks, Lotta. And I must say, everything that Leigh and Lotta and Craig have just said is all true.
That's a good start, Helen. And thanks so much for that. You are in the thick of it right now. So I want to bring you back to when you started thinking about joining this program, which I guess would be in a similar situation as many of you who are listening in are in right now, thinking, is this for me or for my organization? So tell us a bit more. Why did you want to join this program?
Yeah, thanks, Lotta. I'm not sure if it's the case for many of you, but this time last year, I was involved in a lot of conversations with, people from all across 3 levels of government, from industry and private sector. And I just heard lots of great things about this Asialink Leaders program. And I guess the first thing is I felt a classic sort of millennial FOMO of what is this program that I'm not involved in, everyone's loving. But from a professional opportunity perspective, as you said, located in Seoul, I'm involved in briefing the ambassador, ministerial engagements every day. I'm involved in meeting C-suite representatives from both Korea and Australia and this region. And I just felt the speed of fast growing opportunities a lot more. And I just felt like my Asia sort of knowledge and capability was as good as it is today. It was just getting outdated very quickly. So when the opportunity came for me to apply for a scholarship with Austrade to take part in the virtual cohort, I really took that up with a lot of desire to learn more, and that's exactly what it's delivered.
Great to hear, Helen, and love that FOMO of missing out. I guess when you hear from people in the program, everyone's got their own experience of what that brings, and I think it's also to Craig's good point about how you approach the program, with that continuous learning and getting more of the cohort, which also has to do with what you put in. I'm curious just to hear a bit more about your experience through the program, also given that you are joining us in that virtual hub, but have had the face-to-face experience in Canberra.
Yeah, I must say my virtual cohort experience so far, especially the foundation week, it was the most integrated I've felt as part of a hybrid program. Shiraz, engineer, big shout out to him. He took our questions, took time, set time aside to engage with us. All the speakers also make sure they engage with the virtual cohort. I asked all of the questions and a little bit more through the virtual chat room. I also took the opportunity to attend the Canberra Summit in person, and I think many of the virtual cohort this year did, and it was really great to connect with the physical cohort as well as the virtual cohort, and as it's been pointed out, the diverse views and experience of engaging with Asia. I think I was too used to being focused on Korea and Japan and Australia, but just to hear from such a diverse range of work experience, connections. I hadn't really thought about India-China relationship minus Australia. So, the fine sort of nuanced sensitivities and opportunities that I wasn't aware of. So I took a lot out of that.
That's absolutely great to hear. And you're not finished yet. The next stop is graduation and workplace project presentations. And we can't wait to hear of all the ideas that have been shaped and that you will be presenting. But at this stage, when you're about to be finished, what are some of the things that you are taking away from the program beyond the insights? Like, what do you see might be the impact?
Yeah, and I'm in a bit of a transition phase. So I finished up my time in Seoul, Korea in about 8 weeks, and I moved to Sydney for 4 weeks, and then I moved to Singapore for the next 3 years. And it's just been a really good time to integrate my workplace experience, and I've tried to shape my workplace experience in a way that really benefits Austrade in the current political, economic environment, and also really think about my unique value out of, what can I do that ChatGPT can't do? And so I think that's having that sort of space and time and connections to think about those strategic bird's eye view perspective, I think is one big takeaway. I cannot emphasize the importance of networks. I re-established old connections, made new connections, and as I prepare my move to Singapore next year, just getting a chance to even chat with Ken Uwe at Herbert Smith Freehills in Singapore, who's on the ground in Singapore at the moment, understanding where the businesses happen, where are the gaps, and also engaging with Catherine Mudford and how to do business in Singapore module as part of my pre-posting. I think that's just been incredible. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Helen. And it's wonderful to hear. And of course, we wish you all the best too on your next posting. And I think it's a great example of someone who is like Craig, an incredibly Asia capable individual joining the program and wanting to go further. I want to let everyone know here, of course, that there is a variety of experiences from Craig Dower's 2 decades to people who are just looking at Asia now and therefore need to get across the fast changing, complex and nuanced sort of area that we call Asia very, very quickly. So experience is no bar to joining, but ambition and intention is what we're looking for. Now, with that, and thank you so much to Craig and Helen, we would like to turn to you and your questions for a couple of minutes here. And I know that we've just started with them there, and I can see them in the chat. And I will start with how people use the alumni network during and after the program, and then I'm going to get to you, Tom, and I hope that we can see you. If we can't hear you, maybe you can put your question in the chat as well. So you heard a little bit about the alumni network there just from Helen. What we do in the program is we intentionally bring alumni into the program, and they're always so excited to be there and to continue to get to know new people who do the program. So what you can do, of course, is there are informal networking events where alumni come and you form your organic connections. There are intentional moments where alumni come in as experts, as mentors, and at graduation to provide that fantastic little piece of insight, the golden nugget at the end. You can use that to build those connections. And what happens next is really up to our leaders and alumni. But I've seen things like collaborations and partnerships. I've seen co-investments take shape. I have seen lots and lots of exchange and making each other smarter as you go along, because we all have different perspectives and insights to share. So absolutely, the alumni network is something that becomes yours, and you are part of it when you join the Asialink Leaders program. And now we have a fantastic question right there. Namata, thank you so much, Namata Fingle, for joining us. You wonder about assessment, and this is an interesting question. So all of our leaders are incredibly busy people, all pursuing outcomes, business outcomes, or if you want to call it other kinds of outcomes. So we talk not so much about assessment, but we talk about a presentation. It's unlike, an academic program where you're assessed and graded. We are here to support you. We want you to get the most out of the program for the benefit of yourself, your organization, and Australia, and then potentially Asia, because we want to pursue and help with reciprocal engagement, of course, and thrive with our region. So what we do is simply we listen to your presentation, we look at your workplace project, we nurture it, we support it, and at the end, you get great suggestions from us and our alumni cohort on how you might be able to go forward. You can absolutely set your own workplace project, though some organizations will help you set it. They send you for a reason and they would like a particular output. So we ensure that you can pursue something that fits with both yourself and your agency or organization. No other assessment. And with that, we're almost done. There are some questions about fellowships. There always are. We will launch our fellowships in December. And let me go back as a finish to this last slide right here to say that we will close our early bird the 20th of December, and that's a little bit earlier than that, but around there is when we launch our fellowships, which are very few and extremely competitive. I can't tell you right this moment what they will be, but you can look online and I can share some info with you afterwards on the fellowships that we did have. And I would pursue funding as well as apply for a fellowship if I was in that position. And many of the people who join can be self-funded, or they can be funded by the organizations. And all of the pricing info is on our website. And please get in touch after for a little bit more. With that, you got our key contacts here. We'd love to hear from you. We will finish the session formally now and stay on for any other informal questions and answers. But right now, I want to thank everyone for coming and listening to us or joining us on the recording and hearing. We'd love to hear from you, myself, Lotta, or Claire Stevens, whose contact details you just saw and can find on the website. And I want to thank again Craig Dower from QANTM IP and Helen Oh from Austrade, and of course, Leigh Howard, our CEO, for their contributions to this session. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day ahead.